If you like the soundtrack, you'd be surprised to know that it got wiped off the face of the internet. I actually don't understand why game publishers take down soundtrack uploads of games. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's stream. This was basically a lot of the songs that I play were from this one channel on YouTube that compiled a bunch of playlists of various songs within games. What's interesting is that all the playlists are gone, but you can't buy the soundtracks to the games. Nor can you buy the games because the games are often sold that they're no longer sold. And copies of them are very, very rare, right? Oftentimes, the only time that you can actually get these games is when you is when you go and you pirate the games. So it's a bit of a catch-22 where it's like, okay, well, they don't want you to listen to the songs for free, but there's no legal way for you to purchase them. And they never re-release the games because these weren't popular games, not all of them, right? Like quite a few of them were very, very, let's say, less than known. Let's say, I don't know, and like I don't know anyone who knows about this one game on the DS where it was like a dungeon crawler where you had to like map out the world, yeah. And that's a common story. I'm actually curious to see why or what goes into the heads of somebody who's going through that process and like why they decide to do that. And why there's oftentimes no alternative to just going and like pirating the game. Like it is strange to me that there's no way to do it other than to go on the high seas and basically put yourself at risk to be able to enjoy something like this. Imagine if in like 50 years, right? Let's just say, right? Steam, Gabe, he's old. Gabe's old, yeah. Gabe goes away, right? His son takes over. The succession plan fails, and then all of a sudden, Ubisoft takes over Steam. And Ubisoft is like, well, you know what'd be great? So if we started having a time exclusive games, and then all of a sudden the sword goes to shit, right? And then they remove Undertale. I don't know why I use Undertale. Just kind of, I don't know. Undertale, using Undertale for pretty examples is funny to me because it's like the darling game of the game industry, but in the eyes of the business, it's just as much a commodity as anything else. This is like that's the thing, right? Even a work of art to somebody who only thinks about the mercantile aspect and who only thinks about the capitalist mindset, the only thing that they care about is the value that it brings them. And so some Ubisoft executive doesn't look at Undertale and then go, "Oh, this is a great work of art," right? The developers do. But I guarantee you there's an executive out there who is currently in a meeting right now saying, "How do we capture Undertale? How do we capture the Undertale mindset, the fan base?" They're out there, man, and you won't know it, but it's when you do, that's when you realize, oh boy, it can get so much worse. So let's say that happens, right? And then people want to listen to Metroidvania story of Undertale. You know what's crazy? That the idea of taking an entire movie as a GIF and placing it on 7TV or something. There's a very good chance that might be the only way for us to preserve games in the future. Like, given the way that platforms usually tend to lock down, right? It may be that we have to gifify every single game story. So we have to go to like Markiplier's channel and hope that he plays a game because he's the only popular one out there. And you take him and you gifify every video that he's made in order to ensure the continuity of the knowledge of a game. There's a possibility. But yeah, conspiracy theories aside, welcome to this stream, everyone. As you all know, I woke up late. It was very painful for me. Yesterday was Kino. We actually watched K-pop Demon Hunters for my first time. And I would say this, K-pop Demon Hunters might be the best kids movie I've ever seen. It's or at least one of the better ones. Very few kids movies actually have a good flow to them, and very few kids movies have interesting jokes in them. But also very few kids movies do so while also do that while also telling a story that I think imparts a lot of lessons and sort of plants the seeds within a child's mind for them to think about the world. And then even fewer do so while actually being genuinely entertaining and also complex. Like it was actually sort of fascinating to sort of see how this movie worked. But basically, it was probably the best. It's probably the best kids movie that I've seen in a long time. And that's somebody who has to watch kids movies every now and then in order to keep up with the times, right? Because usually for kids movies, right? Most of them tend to be very, very slapsticky, and that's sort of the thing that I hate the most is that slapstick style of most kids shows. Like most kids shows have seen the formula that worked in SpongeBob that has made Nickelodeon millions of dollars, and it's typically what you end up getting. Like it's rare to get a gumball or something. I don't know. Let's say. I don't know. It's rare to get it's rare to get a gumball. It's rare to get a Futurama. I don't know if that's a kids movie or like a kids show, but let's just put it there, right? It's rare to get, say, early Simpsons, let's say. Although I've heard tell that my friend's girlfriend couldn't even watch it as a child, which seems like that's like 1984. Like your parents are censoring you from watching Simpsons of all shows. Like it's not that bad, but apparently it was really bad back then. But I'm like, it's not that bad. Um, like most of these shows, even shows that are sort of made for this idea of trying to be an interesting experience that imparts some level of wisdom to you and also sort of helps a person grow, typically doesn't even end up doing that very well even if it is for that goal. So let's say like Marvin Mystery in Canada, made by a French Canadian studio, and that was specifically designed for French Canadian markets, and also the goal of trying to sort of what's the word, embolden, empower, buff with the goal of trying to buff the minds of children. It still wasn't complex enough to deal with a lot of very difficult topics, except for like one or two arcs, right? A show like Reboot, for instance, again also made by a Canadian team, English Canadian. Even that one oftentimes relied on spectacle to try and sort of make it work. It was very rare for that show to actually touch on something truly meaningful, and it only really started to get there, I would say, at the very beginning with the backstory. And then basically the entire ending arc going from him entering cyberspace into coming back as like a dude. But something like this, K-pop Demon Hunter, the thing that was fascinating to me is that right from the get-go, it talks about this idea of like dealing with your problems, and not just dealing with them as in they suck it up, but like dealing with them as in they open up about them, right? Be true to yourself, and then also confronting what is your shame and sort of moving past that, trying to heal from it, and in doing so, becoming a whole person, right? And that's just one of the messages. Like I was very pleasantly surprised that it was able to have messages like that, and most of the comedy was not slapstick. It was weird to think that most of the comedy was like almost timing based comedy. Like it was comedy that even I laughed at. The only slapsticky part was when they were eating food at the very beginning. It was a little bit overplayed when they had the gimbap, and then she was like sniffing it, and then she stuffed it all inside of her mouth. But other than that, the rest of it was very, very surprisingly dense in terms of comedy. Like even the gag of them bowing further and further down, right? That's very slapsticky, but it's also incredibly like culturally coded, if that makes sense. It's like for somebody to watch that movie and sort of understand why the Asian people keep on bowing down, like, and then why the Korean people are trying to outbow the other person, like that takes a level of thought and then some time to process what exactly that means, right? And then all of that combined with a beautiful message that even I think touches on this idea of like what is redemption, and then what is like what does it mean to be human, even in spite of the things that you've done, even in spite of the mistakes, or even things that aren't even necessarily your mistakes. I actually thought that the movie was a fantastic take on that idea of like, even if you didn't make a mistake, even if what you did was what you wanted to do, even if it was horrible what you wanted to do, it still doesn't preclude you from being able to be free in some way, and even free within your own mind. So it was, again, very complex topics that I did not think any kids movie would ever deal with, right? These are topics that I think even in today's society, like we're trying to figure out the answers as a whole for things like our legal system, things like how do we live with others. It's a very difficult problem to solve, and yet that movie somehow decided to go with it and actually tackled it very well. I'm actually very pleasantly very pleasantly surprised. Everyone here, as far as I know, is within the legal range to have kids. Okay, which means if you're going to have a child, of the things that you could show them, I think that's one of the things that you could show them, and it would actually be pretty good. And it's interesting because I usually hate most kids media. It's very hard to find good, interesting kids media. I often would default to just reading books because I feel like the books have so much more value compared to something like, I don't know, like whatever the mess is that is TV shows and movies, especially the ones that are on the time slots that you have available to you. It's very difficult to actually get anything out of them, really. I mean, as a parent, as like somebody who's like taking care of kids, it's like you see what they watch and then you see the access that they're given to these various different online shows, and it's like, sure, it's very easy to, but I just look at it and I go, this is all, it's literally all brain rot. Like, I feel bad for the kids because it's, back then it was weird in that brain rot back then was just as accessible as the good stuff. Nowadays, brain rot is more accessible than the good stuff. So it's even easier to go and like have brain rot enter your mind versus necessarily going to have really good stuff enter your mind. Like nowadays, it's very expensive and sort of really hard to find a good book. It's really hard and expensive to find a good TV show, and most complex, interesting TV show concepts are being made for adults because adults have spending money, but also it's just I'm gonna say it. I think it's futile. The silly has spread far to my brain. Oh, I didn't even realize that's what the emote was called. Oh my god, that's a long emote. But that is exactly the emote. It's the brain rot. I will say this though, it is not just because it is a moneymaker, right? We know that, kids stuff can make a lot of money. The one thing that I've noticed too is that it's very hard to make kids stuff. It's extremely difficult to make a story that is both approachable for children to understand, has enough complexity in it that they're not just getting brain rotted, actually talks about things that are important to the world and sort of like plants these ideas in their minds to start to help them navigate things, right? That's a very hard premise. Compare this to something like, I don't know, like I don't know if this is a good example, but it's like Lord of the Rings. I know this is crazy to say, but everybody's picked up a stick and swung it around like a sword. But nobody as a child has ever asked, there's people in prison. Like, I know they killed someone, but like, what does it mean to redeem them? And what is the point of prison? You know what I mean? Like, that's a hard, like, I've never heard a kid say that stuff, right? What does it mean to have these things like reform, right? What does it mean to have somebody sort of change their entire personhood, to be able to move on from something and in a way, never really replace the life that's lost probably, but still at least it's like at least we don't have another life lost, and at least now they can attribute what does that mean, right? No kid is ever gonna have that mindset. So I'm just saying, like, it's very easy to think of like a Lord of the Rings style story. It's very hard to do something starting to approach what K-pop Demon Hunters was starting to talk about. It's very fascinating. Sorry, that was a big movie review. I already did the movie review when I watched the movie, and the review is going to go up soon. It's actually a part of the VOD. The one thing that I did notice, it's very hard to edit those things out. I'm going to have to think of a new system to make it work, and I might have to do like a clicker as I watch a movie that does a beep on my end so I know where to edit from. But two, also, man, we might do a weekly Kino thing, actually. Because one thing that I do miss a lot, and one thing that I tend to find myself lacking time for, is time to be able to go sit down and like consume. I don't consume as much as I used to, which is starting to almost dull my senses. Not to say that like mindless consumption is good, but I feel like even for books, let's say, I haven't even finished The House of Leaves. Like, it's just been sitting there collecting dust because I just don't have time. So it's like, in between having to meet these like goals, right? In between trying to meet these like self-imposed deadlines, because on my end, if I don't meet these self-imposed deadlines, then it's like I'm just wasting time at home, especially because of the current sort of like spot that I'm in. It's like I need to do things in order to bolster my sort of presence and my image within the industry to try to get my foot back in the door in many ways. And so it's like, Man, the amount of time that I have to spend on stuff like that feels so time consuming that it's like there's basically nothing left, right? But what I realized is that stuff like Kino, A, it's very fun to do it on like a mini stream. B, it's a great time to watch things I've wanted to watch for a while. That isn't usually something that I would want to sit down for. Like it's hard to want to sit down for something like Ghost in the Shell. But forcing myself into a certain context to do so and sort of forcing others to do it with me, that's very very it's very very it's very very motivating when everyone's suffering with me, right? What else was there? Oh yeah, today as well, we're going to be doing a series of very fun things. So the Accountability Circle, as you all know, is a system that I've developed. Totally didn't steal it from Wikipedia, whereby we set goals for each other and we achieve them. We're going to talk about the Accountability Circle. I think I'm presenting most people's Accountability Circle stuff because most people can't make this timeline. So I will have to think of a new timeline. The problem is that nobody's given me any updates on like what time they would rather have it be. So I don't really know. No one's given me any. The hardest part of organizing anything is how to convince people to speak up. It's genuinely that is the hardest part for any type of organizational thing. If people don't speak up, it's literally impossible for you to know what is going on. But I'm presenting at least the mods today because I think she's still asleep. I think she had a long day at work. And then we're going to do, I think, Mints as well because I think they're probably gone based on what they were telling us. Like they were saying, like, oh yeah, they probably won't be there on that day of until later in the day or something, or even not at all, which probably drags. It is like a weekend time slot, so we'll see how it goes. We might move it to Friday if anything, but this Friday was just unfortunate because I was busy. Well, at least busy within the afternoon. So yeah, we're gonna do the Accountability Circle stuff. We're gonna do a check-in today. So today is the check-in for it. And everybody has something to present. I have something to present, but also not really because I can only talk about it because it's like I can't show you it without doxing the IP of the server and then having to deal with the fact that I haven't set up a single firewall. Like I have no clue. There's no firewall. There's nothing in front of it. Even the idea of me opening the port, I have no clue how to do it in a way that blocks all other traffic except to one particular thing. Like I have no clue how to actually do this firewall thing properly, such that it scopes it down to whatever my application is, and I don't even know if it's possible. Genuinely, that's my current fear. So I can only talk about it. In speaking of that, though, I guess it's really time to just move on to that while we check out some other things. So, we're also going to be doing some other things today. One, I found a really cool website that lets us explore game worlds, which is why we're playing a game OST playlist. As well as we're going to check out Dying Light the Beast. I don't know how to tell you this. The invisible hand of Steam dropped this game into my pocket, and I don't really know why. I had no clue why until I read why, and I was like, oh, that's very funny, because this is an entirely different game, but I guess that works as a system, and it really goes to show that I don't understand the point of the delineation between DLCs, games, and expansions. But first, the Accountability Circle stuff. Although, actually, before I go, there was one video that came to mind. And I don't know why, but I really want to show you the video. I think something at the beginning of the game made me think of the Pookie Bear guy. Which, if you've never seen it, I think you have to. Also, can I say something too? By the way, I need to remind people here. The Genu and Rumi pregnancy saga is now deleted on YouTube. This is the only source of it left. I am the only person in the world who has a copy of this entire saga. And I've seen the movie. She's cheating on Genu. Oh my god. I didn't think about that. I did not see that she would cheat on him. Anyways, it's gone, and I'm so sad because I saw K-pop Demon Hunters 10 out of 10 movie. Anyways, please enjoy this final video, and then goodbye everyone.